Hey guys, welcome back to the Tukes and Tires YouTube channel. As always, I'm Zach, and this week we're unboxing all the parts I bought for my sister's 1973 AMC Gremlin, and we're showing you everything you need to get to do a Gen 3 Hemi swap.
Hey, is that Timmy's?
Yeah, because we're in Canada, eh? Alrighty guys, so you already heard what we're doing in today's video. Just to start us off here, that this is just a whole unboxing video of all the parts that we got for my sister's 1973 AMC Gremlin. Basically, I just want to show you guys everything that I've bought that I think I need to do a Gen 3 Hemi swap. There's also a couple other things, odds and ends, that I have bought that kind of go along with the swap, and that's just for the car to update it. So you can see everything that we got sitting here. So we're going to start kind of from one end and work our way over, and we're going to talk about the direction we went with, you know, everything. So obviously with the car, we're going fuel injection. So for this thing, you know, there might be some stuff I do miss that you're looking for maybe your swap that you're doing with a Gen 3 Hemi, but this is just kind of everything that I bought. So just trying to shed some light on kind of like the stuff that, you know, I think is necessary to do the swap. Lacey's having a great old time here climbing over everything. Oh, but yeah, so I might miss some things, and you know, definitely comment down below if there's something I missed or you think is a great idea to let some people know about a Gen 3 Hemi swap. Obviously we're stuffing it into the Gremlin. That's definitely frowned upon by most people because most people want to keep it original, but I think this is going to be a pretty sweet build. This is my first Hemi swap that I've ever done. If you watched the channel before, you know I'm a big LS guy, so we're definitely going that direction with fuel injection like an LS. So kind of my thoughts is this is kind of doing it right. I do have a plan to do another Gen 3 Hemi swap later that's potentially carbureted, but you guys will see that hopefully in the future. But like I said, we're going to start from one end of this table and work our way over. Hopefully Lacey does not destroy anything here on the table. But to start us off here, the whole brains of the operation that I bought is this Terminator X harness. This I bought, it's a drive-by cable setup. It's very generic, doesn't control the transmission whatsoever. Hopefully with Lacey in the way here that you could see the part number for it. But this thing basically came with everything. She's just in the way. Basically his came with, I don't know, it's over here somewhere. Everything to run the engine. There was just a few odds and ends that didn't come with it. Like this thing right here. This was an add-on piece. The part number should be on the box here for that. That just goes for the coil setup, so that something to do with the static electricity on the Hemis or something like that, that's just kind of like a conductor to get rid of interference and stuff like that, and that just plugs in with the harness. And there was a couple other odds and ends, like sensors that I did buy that did not come with this kit, but obviously if you buy one, they come with a pretty sweet manual. We are definitely going to be doing a video on setting this up and kind of going over this harness, but in this box there's like obviously this harness, there's a whole bunch of other harnesses for like your coils and injectors and that kind of stuff, and the brains of the whole thing, like the computer. So it's a pretty slick setup. It's definitely more pricey than going probably with a stock setup, but you know, being able to tune it yourself and that stuff, having your own handheld to do it, you know, is definitely the way to go. We've done a lot of swaps like that in the past with LS stuff. So I definitely recommend it. So this is going to be a lot of fun. This is my first Holly harness that I've ever done, so that's going to be pretty cool. But this is, you know, for anybody doing a swap and you're going fuel injection, this is probably the way to go for the brains of the operation. Also, moving across the table here, just in the front, I got all my fuel stuff here that we're going to be running. So I have a Summit Racing just kind of filter here. That's the part number for it there. It already has AN fittings on it. So this is a Corvette filter regulator. This is going to get us to the right PSI that we need for our fuel system for the injectors. This is just the way to go nowadays. There's no point buying a factory one and putting all the fittings onto it because we're going to be running AN lines anyways. So just go on Summit, grab yourself one of these. They are pretty slick. We've used it even on my wife's Jeep. So it's pretty awesome. This is a fuel pump we usually run. This is part number there. You can buy that on Rock Auto. It's for a factory setting for a, I think it's like an 8.1 liter Vortec motor. It's the cheapest pump you can buy, but it's the right amount of pressure that you're gonna need for like an NA setup that's just stock. There's the connector part number there. That was actually pretty difficult to find because this pump doesn't come with the little connector to plug it in, so you're gonna need that. And then basically moving across, we're gonna do more fuel stuff, and then we're gonna come back to this here. But you know, we got our fuel rails, there's Holley fuel rails, part number on the box right there. This is for, I think it's like 03 to current Hemi intakes, I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on that, but we are running a pre-Eagle setup on this, so this intake is like pre-Eagle stuff. That's the motor we got. You're going to see that in a second. So this is just going to fit on there, and this was the nicest fuel rail that I could find. It was a little more pricey, but how all the fittings are going to go on and the way the brackets are, I didn't want to do anything kind of goofy. I wanted to make sure that that was going to stay on there just because this is for my sister. I didn't want, you know, I didn't want anything happening where it was like, oh, that doesn't seem, you know, sturdy enough, basically is what I'm getting at. But then, you know, we just got ourselves like a generic, this is an LS throttle cable. Came with these super nice gloves so I don't get my hands dirty when we're working on it. And then the Holley setup is capable of using a like fuel pressure sensor, so I just bought one of those to go into the rail because it also has a couple spots in this rail for actually like fittings and stuff like that, so that's pretty cool. So we'll be able to run a mechanical gauge on one side and then this one that's actually going to go to the Holley, so we'll be able to see it on the screen, so that's pretty cool. That was just a cheapie on Amazon that I bought. But just before we get into this intake and kind of what's going on here, because some guys might be like, hey, that's an LS throttle body on that thing, I just wanted to talk about our alternator setup. So this doesn't have anything in it to control like the factory alternator, so you kind of have to go with a different setup if you're going this way. There's some guys that take the stock alternator and you can run like a old school regulator on it, but I didn't really want to go that direction just because I'm like, people are saying it's not the best thing, and you can do it, but it just, you know, you kind of have to figure out your setup. So there's this pretty sweet bracket that Holley sells. The part number should be on the box here for that. But what this actually does is they want you to buy your or their alternator for that, but I'm pretty sure you could just bolt an LS alternator onto that. And if you know anything about LS alternators, they are just kind of like a one-wire hookup when you just run a little resistor. So it makes it a pretty slick little setup. It came with a pulley to go on here. So we're definitely going to be showing this going onto our motor once we get there to hook that up. I did the same alternator setup on my Chevelle when I put the LS in with the resistor, so it's super simple if you're going like a carb setup or something like that. There's tons of videos out there if you're looking for that information, but just because this doesn't have anything to control the factory alternator, this is kind of the way you gotta go. But yeah, it just seems right. But so with this intake over here, you might be saying, like I said, this is an LS throttle body on here, and basically what the setup we went with, you're gonna see here in a little bit, but because of the transmission I have to run a TV cable, so I had to get a setup where I could actually hook that up to, and this harness over here is capable, it's to run with just a drive-by cable throttle body, and what they actually do is they use like all LS sensors. So the best way to go about that is you find just an adapter to go from your Hemi intake to an LS throttle body. So there's a couple of websites where they sell a few different adapters, but this one I think it was like $130 or something like that. I didn't find, it's really hard to find one that's actually going from intake to LS throttle body. They sell it the other way around for some reason, but yeah, it seemed like it was pretty reasonable price, and then it just makes it super simple, so then we just still run just a regular throttle cable, you hook it on there, and you got all to go. So pretty slick there, that's just the way that Holley does it to make it easy for yourself. So that's pretty much everything on this table for, I would kind of want to say, engine management and fuel setup. You know, definitely comment down below if you want more part numbers or anything. I can always comment them to you guys if you couldn't see them in the video. But this is what I would say that you majority need to run the engine. So we do have a couple things on this other box over here that Lacey's absolutely crushing right now. But just to go over it, what she's sitting on is the TV cable for our transmission. We're gonna get that to a little. We're gonna get to that in a little bit. We also have a new dipstick, and then also the flex plate that we need to run for our transmission setup. So hopefully, I don't know, you can see the part number on this right here. Lacey is definitely in the way. Get going here. What are you doing? So it's like 40518. So that works with a couple different Dodge transmissions. They have, with the Hemi, they kind of went with like a regular flex plate, kind of like a GM style on the newer stuff, but if you're trying to run an older transmission, that's the piece you have to buy there. And then the transmission that we're actually going to be running is a A518, or some people call it a 46RH. So that transmission, you can actually see it on the ground over there. I'll make sure I'll walk around a little bit. We can talk about that. But it is hydraulically controlled other than fourth gear. So this is where it gets a little different for our Hemi setup, but that's just what we're pairing up for the Hemi. So I have a few things that are specific to that, is these two little things here. So we have a pressure sensor for the oil, for the line pressure to actually switch all that on, and then there's a vacuum switch to make it all work so that basically, hopefully you can see the two part numbers right here on the box. Freaking Lacey, dude. But yeah, so we are going to be doing a video on that, on how to control the A518 with this setup. Hopefully it works. I've read some stuff on forums. You can buy a kit actually for that stuff, but I just went on Amazon and I just bought all, like, both parts separately, just because it seemed to be cheaper that way to operate that. But basically that's everything to hopefully control the engine and transmission that we're going to be using. I'll make sure I'll come around here now. So you probably saw this humongous box here. This is obviously specific to the unboxing for the Gremlin. This is going to be our radiator. We went with a cold case unit. This is actually, they don't sell one for a Gremlin, but they sell one for a Javelin, and the measurements are exactly the same, other than just the bolting location. Basically, it's backwards on the Javelin, so what we'll have to do is we'll just have to make some brackets to go to those brackets to the firewall to actually make this radiator work. You'll definitely see that in a future video of us getting that. Once we get the motor in the car, you'll see us actually hooking all that up and how it all works. But part numbers on the side here for that. You can see that it was just AMC Javelin. It seemed to be the best way. Like, there's a lot of options for radiators for Gremlins out there, like on eBay and stuff like that, but this just seemed like the best way to go about it, and I've heard great things about cold case, so I'm definitely excited to get that into the car. Obviously, you already seen our transmission here. To run that, to actually start the car, I just bought a starter that was actually meant for this transmission. So that just makes it easy that way. Obviously, with our adapter plate that we have here, that's going to make everything operate that way. We do have to knock off, hopefully you can see it, I'm probably in the way of the light, but you can see that there's a weight on our torque converter there. We are going to have to take that off just because the Hemi is a internally balanced engine, and this transmission came from a motor that was externally balanced, and they put that weight on there to offset the weight. So definitely comment down below if that's right. From forums I've read, that seems right to me. That's what we're gonna do if we get a wicked vibration. I don't know what to say, but other people have definitely done this swap before with this transmission. So yeah, hopefully it works. It seems like the best way to go. We could use the original 3-speed that's in the car, but we kind of want to get 4 speeds, and yeah, I just think that that's right. So over here, we got some exhaust manifolds. I already know that these manifolds are probably not going to work in the car. They're just kind of really massive, and I don't know. They were just too good of a deal to pass up on Marketplace, so I bought them. We got some ARP hardware to bolt them on. We're probably going to end up making our own custom headers for this. So that's going to be a pretty cool video. I have an idea for that, what we're going to do. But you can see here, this is our Gen 3 Hemi that you guys probably seen in the last video. I got it all cleaned up. We got the block painted. I have a whole bunch of other parts, like a new oil pan stuff that we're going to show you here in a little bit. But you can see the motor that we went with is this is an 06 to 08 block out of a 2500 pickup truck. The only reason I went with that is because this motor doesn't have MDS. The Holley system does not operate the MDS, and then this obviously doesn't have VVT. So for the swap, it just seemed like the best motor to go with. And I didn't feel like buying a block that had MDS and then like tearing the cam out of it and stuff like that. This motor I also got to hear running in the truck, and it had no knocks or anything, so it just seemed like the best way to go that way. So if you're sourcing a Hemi for your project, make sure you definitely check out those years, 06 to 08. I think you can even go earlier. I think you can go like, I think 03 to 08 with the MDS, or with a 2500 with no MDS. But I just wanted this era because we had to make sure that we got the right motor for the right era of harness that we were buying, just because that's how it works when you're buying the harness. I don't know what's different. I think maybe the reluctor wheel on the crank might be different for years. Obviously, I'm new to Hemi stuff, so if anybody knows that information, definitely comment that down below, because I'm only human and I don't know everything. So you can see this has the truck intake on it. Like you already seen, we're switching over to a car intake. Hopefully maybe I can get a picture. I have another block that I bought that came out of a Chrysler 300. So we're actually going to be switching this block over to like car front accessory drive to make that alternator bracket work, and then just make it a little more closer actually to the block because it doesn't stick out as far. So it's going to look a little more neat. Other little goodies we got here. This is more motor stuff. So we got a new dipstick, a new front seal for once we actually change that to the car setup. We got the heater line kind of cooling tubes or whatever that go underneath the intake for the whole car setup. So that's going to be pretty cool. That stuff was easy to find. I don't know if there's part numbers on this here. So that's for the one hose or the one line, and then hopefully you guys can see that. Can you read upside down? And that's for the other one. Basically, if you're looking for those part numbers, obviously I just Google everything and just see what I can find. And then just to freshen up the motor a little bit, we got a new oil pan. I just went with the same truck pan because that's going to work best for our application with the car. So we got a new gasket for that, and that's has the windage tray on it. And then I have a new front seal and a new rear main seal. I think I have a couple other odds and ends and boxes somewhere, but nothing major that I'd say at this point. Basically, I'd say that that's all the stuff you really need to do a Gen 3 Hemi swap. There's probably some things I'm forgetting, like bolts and whatnot and other pieces here and there, but I'd say these are the majority of the pieces that you're going to need to do a Gen 3 Hemi swap. Like I said, I'm totally new to this. I've never done it before. I'm going at the mindset of kind of like doing an LS swap, where you just buy like a junkyard motor and you're just going to toss it in. This motor, I think, had like 168,000 K. I don't know what that is in miles because we're up here in Canada. You know, we're drinking a lot of maple syrup, so I can't do the conversion. But yeah, so I don't, this is all new to me. I'm pretty excited to do it. So like I said, definitely comment down below if I miss some things or whatever. If you're looking for information on part numbers, I can definitely do that. If you guys are actually looking to go standard, if you're looking like, if you're looking for flywheel and maybe going carbureted, I can definitely comment those part numbers down below if you're looking for it, because I've maybe already bought some stuff to do that in the future on a future project, because we got something brewing for later on, hopefully in the year. I'm just hooked on Hemis now. But yeah, so definitely stick around for the next video. We're actually going to start building this motor. I don't want to say build, but we're going to freshen it up and hopefully maybe try out the harness and actually fire this thing up before we even put it into the car. So that's going to be pretty exciting. So thank you guys if you made it to this part of the video. I really appreciate all you guys watching the videos and you know, commenting and subscribing. So that's super cool. But I think that's where we're going to leave it, guys. And yeah, you know, Lacey's even here to say goodbye. Huh? Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. And as always, don't forget to salute the beaver. We'll catch you next time.
Gone.
Menace. Yeah. Yeah.